Welcome guys to MathTech once again, and in this video we'll be solving a simple problem with the Python programming language, and that is under the quadratic equation. And I just want you guys to pay full attention to this. Step by step we'll break down everything for you, and we might not go into full details about explaining the data types, explaining the points of variables and the rest of it, but please, if need be that we do so, we'll also do that for you. But pay attention and learn step by step, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to MathTech. Thank you. So in this video we'll be learning how to use Python programming language to solve basic problem in mathematics under quadratic equation. Now the code we will be writing will help the user to enter any value of his choice, that is being able to solve any quadratic equation that is being given to you. We'll also do same practical for other languages, but we'll begin with Python first, which is the beginners friendly language. But before I dive into the coding aspects, now let me give an overview for starters of Python or starters of programming or beginners. Now this is my environment I'm using to write my Python codes, and I'm coding with PyCharm. And for those that does not know how to get this done, I will just give you an overview. But in our Python full course, the episode by episode, you will learn everything there. And this is how it goes. You go to your Chrome. When you go to your Chrome, you type download Python, and you will see this site, and there are other sites beneath, and this site called python.org. You click on it and it takes you to here. And as of when this video is being shot, the latest version of Python is Python 3.13.5, and you will download the latest version of Python for Windows. You can also do that for Linux, and you can also do that for Mac also, and for other systems. Once you download this, I think you've gotten the latest version of your Python, but that's not a guarantee for you to get this environment. This environment is PyCharm. You also go back to your Chrome and also go type download PyCharm, and you see JetBrains. JetBrains is a site where you can download PyCharm easier, the Python IDE for data science and the rest. So when you click on this site, it takes you to here. Download PyCharm. You see, this is download. This is for Windows. If you are using Mac, you just click on Mac and come here, click on download. If you're using Linux, you click on Linux, come here, click on download. But I'm using a Mac computer, so I'll be downloading PyCharm for Mac. And that is just simple. That is simple. But I won't be experimenting too much because I already have my IDE here in my laptop. But in the Python series, I'll teach you how to download it from the beginning to the end, and also how to set it up. And back to our business for the day. This is my environment and I'm coding. I'm trying to solve a basic problem in mathematics under quadratic equation. Now this is my file. For most people, you might have downloaded the file, you might have downloaded the environment, and how to get your file is the problem. Simple. Come to the panels here, check the panels. At the top left, you see the project panel, click on it, and just right click at any point. So right clicking at any point, you see this pop up here, new, and the rest of it. So you see new, you see file, you see scratch file, directory, Python package, and the rest. Though in the full video, in the full Python series, we'll explain all of these. But for now, it's either you pick the file or you pick the Python file. Now picking the Python file, you just only have to give a name. As now picking the Python file, I'll just say home. So it asks the file path, which is .py for you. But now going to pick file, and let's say we are typing series. So now when you are picking the file, you must add the file path, which is .py. Now I'm just picking series, and this does not tell me if it's an HTML file or a Python file or any language file. So it means that this is the wrong approach. So how do you do that? For that, you go back, right click, you see a new, hover your mouse on new, and this pops up, and you click on the file. Then you can say distance.py. You can see that this is a Python file path. So It's as simple as that for the setup, but I've already made mine here, which is what? The quad EQN, which is quadratic equation. It's just an abbreviation I use for quadratic equation .py. So this is the file I'll be using here. So I'm not using this. I take this off, and I take this off. So now let's begin the lesson. Now, the first thing I do is that I would like to start with a comment. Don't forget that anytime you're writing a code, comments helps somebody that does not really have knowledge about this particular area. Let's say someone that does not really have knowledge on programming, so not much knowledge, just a beginner coming to see your code, and you're not commenting, you're just writing codes. The person might get confused at the point, but if you're starting your code and you're starting with a comment, like let me say I'm starting with a code to solve quadratic equation. So I have explained this, that this is a code to solve quadratic equation. In my comment has already explained to the beginner, the learner, that this is a code to solve quadratic equation. Now let's go deep now into quadratic equation. Now we have three major methods of solving quadratic equation, and the first method is by factorization, the second method is by completing the square, and the third method is by formula method, which is general, which we all know that these are the three major methods we use in solving quadratic equation. Now, in these tutorials, we are focusing on the formula method. We're focusing on the formula method, and we know that the quadratic expression is given by ax squared plus bx plus c. And that takes us now to the formula. What is the formula for solving a quadratic equation? Now the formula is x equal to minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Note that please, because we'll be using that. So now I can come here and still give another line of comments. I can still give it another line of comment and say quadratic expression is given by ax squared. Now most people might say, how did I manage to just have the square here? I copied this from Google, the x square from Google. I just came and I pasted it. You know, in Python, if you want to use the square, we exponential 2. What we do is we use double asterisk for that. So that is it. Plus bx plus c. This is the expression for a quadratic. This is how a quadratic expression is being given. So after that, I can still make another comment and say we declare variables. We declare variables. So now let's go back to our quadratic expression. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Put an e here. Ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is a constant. And I'll be working with those three variables, which is a, b, and c. Those are the variables that I will be using. Now, what is a variable for those who might ask? What is a variable? A variable is a container. A variable is just like a container, something is being preserved inside. So see how we go about this. So we declare variables a, and we use the assignment operator b, and we also use c. So now I'm not trying to solve a specific question. I'm not trying to solve a specific question under my code is not trying to solve a specific question under the quadratic equation. Now I'm trying to write a code that gives the user a choice to solve any kind of quadratic equation problem. That is what I'm trying to do here. So at this point, I cannot put a specific value. I would like to use a function that gives the user a choice of what to do. And this is the function I'll use. I'll use the input function. So I'll say input. See, this is an updated PyCharm. So before you even finish typing, it has popped up. So enter. And now, if I'm just putting input and the brackets, the parentheses, it is not bad, it is correct. But one thing about coding and one thing that really makes programming interesting is making your code interactive. Both your lines of code and even the outputs of your code, making them interactive, it is very important. So I will put some lines of strings here. I'll say, okay, enter value for the coefficients of x square. Don't forget I copied that from the Google. So I can copy from this line down to this line and I just paste here, and same thing here, I paste. So I can just come here for b. Don't forget a is the coefficient of x square, b is the coefficient of x. So I will remove the square. I'll remove the square, and c is our constant. So enter value for the constant. So there will be constants. So now we successfully declared our variables, which is a, b, and c, and we are making our code to be interactive. So after that, we can say the next step will be setting our formulas. So I can say enter formula. Say using formula method. Then we state the formula beneath. Now, don't forget the general formula is x equal to minus b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac all over 2a. So, note that a quadratic equation has two roots. So, if we are using just x, how do we write the x plus minus? What we will do is that we have to separate our x into two parts. That is having the first root of x and the second root of x. And we'll have to call it x1 and x2. And for the x1, instead of using plus minus, we'll use just plus. And for the x2, we then use minus. So this is how we do it here. So we say x1. Now x1 is a variable. We have to declare a variable here. I have explained it, so there's no need of putting that as a long comment. So I've explained it already, so there's no need of putting it as a long comment. So x1 equals to minus b plus square root of, don't forget it's supposed to be square root of, but we also know that square root in exponential form is the power of 1 over 2, which is power of 0.5. Square root in exponential form is the power of 0.5. And in exponential, how do we, or what is the symbol for exponential here is double asterisk. So we'll use that. We'll just do brackets b square minus 4ac all over 0.5. So that's what we'll do. So we use the brackets here. We see b square, that's double asterisk 2 minus 4ac, which is 4 times a times c, and all these exponential 0.5. And all this now will be divided by what? 2a, which is 2 times a. So since we are dividing all this by a, now we have to learn that just as the order of precedence is being appreciated in our normal mathematics, so it is also applied in using Python to solve mathematics problem. So we also know the order of precedence, that parenthesis is more appreciated. And after parentheses, you go to exponentials. It will be displayed on the screen here. So you see it here on the screen. So just check on the screen. You will see the order of precedence and you learn from it. So this is now divided by 2 times a. So also this 2 times a will also be in parentheses, so that our results don't divide 2, then multiply a. So it will also be in parentheses. So So our bracket here and our brackets here. So what we do is just copy this, copy the whole of this, copy the whole of this, and oh, sorry, I think there's a bit of okay. You have control Z that. So you paste it. What we have to do here is just to change our x1 to x2, and we change the plus to minus, and this is it. So we've given the user a choice to enter the coefficients of x squared of x and to enter the value for the constant, and also we've written our formula. We stored the first root in x1 and we are storing the second root in x2. So the next thing we do is to print. Let's print our statement immediately. So we say print x1 and also print x2, and this is it. This is it, as simple as this. So let's run our program to see what we have. So if you want to run your program, it's either you still check at this panel here, you see run, so run, or you use the shortcut shift plus F10, shift F10. So let me use that. Hold your shift and press F10. Wow, now this is the work of the input. Now that input, the input gives the user a choice, and those strings I wrote at the parentheses of the input also reflected as when we were running our code, which is now somebody that runs that code. Now when he comes to this and says, okay, this I'm supposed to enter the value for the coefficient of x squared, and which I will do now. Let me use 1 as the value for the coefficient of x squared, 1, and I'll use -6 as the second coefficient of x, and I'll use 8 as our constant. Wow, we are having an error here. So why are we having an error? Now, anytime you run the code and you have an error, it is advisable that you go through your error message. You are saying traceback, most recent calls, 5. They say line 13 in module, this, that. Okay, say type error. Now, the name of the error is a type error, bad operand type for unary, and we are seeing a string that is causing the error. So now let's go back to our code and work out this error. Now let's look at the code. Now let me teach you something. You see this input function here we use. Now the input function by default returns a string. The input function by default returns a string. So we cannot use this input function and we are typing values, we are typing numbers there, and we are expecting a result from that. That is why it has to give us an error message. So what do we do? Now we have data types in Python, and strings, one of the data type, ints, one of the data type, floats, one of the data type, booleans, also one of the data type. Now when talking about numbers, the major data types we have for numbers are what? We have the ints and we also have the floats. So in this case, ints are for whole numbers while floats are for decimal numbers. So you can either use the int data type or you use the float data type before your input function. But I'll use the float for convenience because the float both accepts, even though it's an whole number, will just give you a decimal of 0, 0. And also if it's a decimal number, you get your decimal result direct. So I'll use the float instead, yeah, for convenience. So I'll say the float. So, and don't forget, if you miss one of these parentheses, it will show you an error. So you have to put a parenthesis. Those are very important. So another one, floats, and same again, float, floats. So now, did you observe something? Did you observe that while we use floats here, immediately those yellow lines and red, those little yellow lines and red lines that we are showing here immediately disappeared? It now means that it is being understood that each of Each of these variables here, what are to be stored inside are numbers and not letters. What are to be stored inside these variables are numbers. Now, this is not saying that this b here, as of when we have not included the float, this b here, a string was multiplying a number, an integer, and that does not make sense. But immediately we added the float, everything has to come to number that this b, even though it is not a specific number given, but they know that this is a number multiplying, that a number raised to power of a number, and 4 here, a number multiplying a number, and these are all numbers. So let me run the code now. Shift F10. So let's enter the first value of, let's enter value for the coefficient of x squared, start with 1. Value for the coefficient of x minus 6. Value for the constants, I use positive 8 and I run. Wow, and it gives us the result. For x1, the root is 4, and for x2, the root is what? 2. You can solve this manually also, and you see you get the same answer. And this is very, 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 very interesting. And let me take you back again. Let me rerun. Let me refresh so that we can have it again and try another. Let's try another question. So now let's use still 1 as the coefficient of x squared. Now let's use 4 as the coefficient of x. And now let's use 5 as a constant. Yes! And you know that when we're using the formula method and also the completing the square method and some quadratic expressions that cannot be factorized, they finally land us towards a complex number. And you can see in Python, complex or imaginary numbers are represented with the symbol J. That's why we are having J on the screen. But in our normal mathematics, we represent complex or imaginary number with the letter I. So guys, we'll also drop a video to teach us how to use the inbuilt math functions to solve problems. Also the quadratic equations, which will be using the math.sqrt, which is the square root functions to solve same problem. Just stay tuned with MathTech. Don't fail to like, share, and subscribe, and anticipate for the next video where we'll be using the inbuilt math functions or the math module to solve the quadratic equation. Thank you.